September. Now, as mentioned in the rules for August, I'm going to be moving so many books, so many spaces back for every book that I buy, and every book, and so many spaces forward for every book that I read. Now, I will get to that in a moment, but what I want to do first is I want to roll my die. As usual, the 6-sided die tells me what I'm going to be moving on the board, and the 20-sided die tells me how many books to read, what my rolls are. Now, in the month of September, I will also be hopefully completing the Magical Readathon from G at Book Roast. So I do have some prompts that I do want to get in there as well. So what we're going to do first is we're going to roll the 20-sided die in the little box to see how many books I will be reading in the month of September as my official TBR, with the readathon books trying to be slotted in with that, because obviously G explains it all in the rules, but there are 2 core prompts that you need to get to complete the novice path, with 3 additional for character development, and hopefully I can get all 5 done today in this month, with a little bit of leeway as to which prompt is which. So we'll roll that again because it moved as I was about to show you. That is a 16. I swear it was a 16, but it moved as I tried to pick it up. So yeah, we're going to be reading 16 books this month. So before we get into the 16 moves from my 16 rolls, we are going to do the extra moves. So I bought 18 books this month, but I read 21, so that is plus 3, because the difference is 3, so I've moved a 3 forward because that was in my favour. I read more than I bought. So 1, 2, 3. As I'm pre-filming the rules, I will roll them and then hopefully cut everything as it should be. I'm also going to be writing down the number of rolls I've made, including the prompt and how many steps to move on the board, because obviously my board is dependent on, my starting place is dependent on how many books I read. So, to roll number 1, move 1. And the prompt for this one, I have my Illumicrate tin, which is inspired by the Empire of the Daevabad trilogy. I'm putting a bit of a shirt. And we'll go for this prompt. Read a random book / blindfolded pick. Okay, so book 1 was pick a random book or a blindfolded pick. Now you are just going to have to take my word that this book was picked at random. I closed my eyes, went to the top of the shelf and picked up the 3rd in the series, which I haven't read the first 2 books. So I picked again, and I went for my TBR trolley, my haul cart, and I picked up Ace of Shades by Amanda Foodie. All I know about this one is that we follow N.A. Salter, who was raised as a proper young lady, and no lady would willingly visit New Reigns, the so-called City of Sin, but N.A. does just that, and she meets up with Levi Glacier. Levi's not the gentleman she expected, he's a con man. And N.A. is looking for her mother and unearths an impossible secret about her past. And Levi's enemies are catching up to them, and this is the first in a series. Roll number 2. 4. Read a borrowed book. I move 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully I don't hit this. I'm going to be reading The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I think everybody knows about this one, but Nora is feeling a bit down in the dumps, and she, trigger warning, commits suicide. But she wakes up in the Midnight Library, and the books in this library allow her to live as if she had done things differently. So in one lifetime she might go right, there'll be a book that where she goes left, and the choices that follow. Roll 3. 5. Only prompt. Upside down. Read a book that starts with a randomly generated letter. Read a book with a randomly assigned that starts with a randomly assigned letter. So for this one, I actually asked Sean to give me a letter between A to Z, make any random letter from the alphabet. He came up with Z. I don't have any books starting with Z. Then he came up with Y. Again, I don't have any books starting with Y. So he eventually came up with H. And we have House of Earth and Blood, which is book 1 of the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. We're following Bryce, who used to be a bit of a partier until a demon murdered her 2 friends. 2 years, her closest friends. 2 years later, exposes killers behind bars, but the crimes have started again, and the city's leaders want Bryce. And then we have Hunt, who was an enslaved fallen angel, to try and help her out. So we have that one. Roll 4. Right, that's a 5 again. We're gonna. Okay, we're rolling 5. And this prompt is read a retelling. Now that works perfectly for another prompt, or a prompt on the readathon, but we'll put that there for now. 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I go. The next prompt is read a retelling, and for this one I'm going to go for 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lynn. Now this is a retelling of Swan Prince. I don't know the original fairy tale, but this is the gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous fairy loot edition. But in this one we follow Shiori, who's the only princess of Kayeta, and she has forbidden magic. On the morning of her betrothal ceremony, Shiori loses control. First, this is a bit of a look. She didn't want to get married in the first place, but it catches the attention of Ryakama, her stepmother, and this woman is a sorceress in her own right. She banishes Shiori and turns her brothers into cranes, and warning Shiori that she can't say a word. Every word she speaks, one of her brothers will die. So Shiori obviously has to find a way to break this curse, and there is a dragon in this as well. So that was that one. Roll 5 is a 2, and the prompt is read a book that you find intimidating. 1, 2. Read a book that you find intimidating, and that will be The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. this just intimidates me because it's massive and the writing is tiny. Look at how small that writing is, and this is intimidating because I know a lot of people absolutely adore this book. Roll 6. If I get the same number twice, I'm rolling again. Okay, missed the box, but it's a 6. The prompt for that one. Read a new to you author. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Read a new. Next one is read a new to you author. So I'm going to go for Crave by Tracy Wolff. I have never read anything by this author before, and this follows Grace, who is the only mortal in a school for witches, shapeshifters and vampires. She's curiosity to some and affront to other students, but she's viciously attacked within days of her arrival, and so clearly somebody doesn't want her here. So we'll find out about that. Roll 7. 6 again. 3. I don't like having 2 doubles in a row. So we'll continue picking up a new prompt. This prompt is read the lowest rated book on your TBR. Move 3. 1, 2, 3. Next one is read the lowest book on your lowest rated book on your TBR, and that's going to be The Midnight Queen by Sylvia Hunter. I don't actually have all of my TBR in Goodreads, but this one has an average rating of 3.55, and I think it's because it's not as well known, and it is a little bit. And I do know that Becca from Becca in the Books tried to read this one, and she didn't enjoy it, but it's witches. We follow Grey, and his Britain is a fragmented kingdom of many tongues, many gods, and many magics. All that Grey is concerned about is getting back to his studies and setting right the nightmare that kicked him out of the college. Well, his tutor's home without a trace of any of his powers. This is when he meets Sophie, a professor's daughter. Sophie has no talent of her own, and being forbidden by her father to pursue it, but she wants it anyway. She started a bookish rebellion in her dad's library, and her meeting with Grey set off a series of events that will lead them to uncover a conspiracy at the heart of the kingdom and possibly find out what happened to the Midnight Queen, who vanished without a trace years before. Roll 8, we're halfway. I see 5. The prompt. Oh, my prompt jar looks very empty. Nice and specific. Read a paperback. Is move 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A very precise prompt. Read a paperback. But I picked up Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This follows Bree, who was incredibly smart, but she's grieving the loss of her mother. She's invited to attend this pre-college course, weekend event thing. And then when she's on campus on her first night, she is witness to a magical attack, and this mage tries to. The mage tries to the mage called Merlin tries to wipe Bree's memory, but this fails, so it unlocks Bree's own magic and a buried memory from the night her mother died. There's a secret society on campus called the Legendborn, and they reveal themselves as the descendant of King Arthur's Knights and Foretell a Magical War. I've heard nothing but good things about this one. Roll 9. 5 again, but when it's a double like this, we roll again. 3. The prompt for that one. Read a horror. Now again, I think that one will work perfectly for one of the prompts in the Magical Readathon. 1, 2, 3. Next one is Read a Horror. So I'm going for Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This follows Noemi, who is a socialite, but her glamorous life is interrupted when she receives a letter from her newlywed cousin who wants some help. Noemi goes to the High Place, an estate in the mountains of Mexico owned by the secluded Doyle family. So I'll go from that. I have heard mixed things about this one, and I think it deals with eugenics and those nasty. Roll 10 is a 4, and the prompt read a steamy book. Do I have any of those? Maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Snake. A steamy book. So I'm going for The Duke and I, which is the first book in the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn. If you've seen the Netflix show, you'll know why I'm counting this as a steamy book. But basically, this is a historical Regency romance set during the marriage market season, following the oldest of the Bridgerton girls, Daphne, and Simon, who is he a count or a duke? Is some higher up. Oh, he's a duke. And basically this is a false fake dating scheme that turns into something more, and it is the start of the Bridgerton series. But we also have, aside from that romance, we also have the mystery of who Lady Whistledown is. Now, if you've seen the end credit scenes of the Bridgerton show on Netflix, you'll know who that is. I don't think in the books it's revealed until book 3, I think. But obviously Lady Whistledown is a gossip monger who spreads not so much rumour but truth that people want to hide. Roll 11 is a 1, and the prompt read a book with a randomly generated word in the title. Move 1. The next prompt was read a book with a random word in the title. So again, I asked my sister for this one. After a few false starts, she came up with the word cat. And for this one, I'm reading Catwoman Soulstealer by Sarah J. Maas. This is one of the DC Icon books and follows Selena Kyle, who disappears from Gotham for about 2 years, comes back with Holly Vanderhees, and Selena is trying to save the day basically, but she's a bit of an anti-hero, I believe. Ooh. And we have Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn in these books. I do like Harley Quinn. Roll 12 is a 6, and the prompt read a non-fiction. I think that might be a bubble book. Move 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Read a non-fiction. non-fiction. Now, I don't actually have any more non-fiction, so this one doubles. If I was allowing myself to double up on prompts, this one would also count for borrowed book. But we have Caught in the Revolution by Helen Rappaport. This is my sister's book. I'm just borrowing it. And this follows she did say it was something about the Russian Revolution, following the Bolsheviks and people caught up in what happened when the Bolsheviks took over and 1917. That was earlier than that, but yeah, that's be a good one. Roll 13, A2. The prompt. Read a purple book. Next prompt was read a purple book. A Rover Rising by Amy Kaufman and G. Christoph. We have some purple here. This is purple, and we have some purple sprayed edges. This is a purple book. So this is set in space, following Tyler Jones, a star pupil who's ready to recruit his own team, but because he is out in space answering a distress call, which happens to be our girl Aurora, who has been cryo-asleep for the last however many years, he is left with the losers, discipline cases and misfits in his squad, but they may be the last hope to save the galaxy. I've heard so much great things about this one as well. Roll 14 is a 5, and the prompt: read a book where the MC is an adult, so MC is main character. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where the MC or main character is an adult. So we have the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. For some reason I want to keep calling this the Thursday Morning Murder Club. But this follows some OAPs in a peaceful retirement village. Four friends meet up once a week to investigate unsolved murders. However, a brutal killing takes place on their doorstep, and the Thursday Murder Club, Elizabeth, Joyce, Abraham and Ron, have to solve it. I believe this has a sequel out as well. But we have that one. I think this is going to be a cozy mystery rather than a thriller. Is there such a thing as a cozy murder mystery? We'll find out. And roll 15 is a 4. And the prompt: read a book box book. Well, it says book box club, but I mean it was book box book. Yep. We have a subscription box book. 1, 2, 3, 4. 15. Read a book box club. And this is the story of Danny and Eden Rivera, sisters who were born to kill dragons. For Danny, dragon slaying takes backseat to normal life, but for Eden, slaying is everything. But they both agree on one thing: where dragons are concerned, it's kill or be killed. That is until Danny actually meets a dragon and ends up forging a rare and magical connection with him. As they grow closer, Danny questions everything, and it actually starts to drive a wedge between the sisters, Eden and Danny. Eden knows she'll have to risk everything to bring her sister back, and they end up on opposite sides of an impending war, and they'll both do whatever it takes to save the other. And the last roll of the month is a 5. Had lots of 5s this time. And then the character. Oh, I like this prompt. The Return of the YA Snake. Read a book with the snake in title or on the cover. And obviously we'll be moving. And then the move 5. Last prompt was Return of the YA Snake. Basically, read a book with a snake on the cover or in the title. Night House by Lee Bardugo. This is the Waterstones edition. It has exclusive content and really pretty black sprayed edges. But we follow Alex, who is an unlikely member of Yale's freshman class. She's a dropout and a sole survivor of a horrific unsolved crime. Alex just wanted a new start, but this scholarship comes with a catch. She has to monitor Yale's secret societies, and Alex, I believe, can see ghosts, and there are a couple of societies that are dabbling with magic. All I know about this one is that it is chock full of trigger warnings. So this month I am also taking part in G's from Book Roast's Magical Readathon. So the prompts that these books that I've picked up in my TBR also have the added benefit of fitting the prompts for her TBR. So we have 3 character development prompts that aren't due until April 2022, but I can fit them into this TBR and get it over and done with until next year's readathon, as well as some other prompts that fit the map, and 2 of those are, and we only have to do 2 to pass the novice path, but most of my books fit those prompts anyway. So if anybody is interested, I am going to be from the continent of Etheria, and I will be an Earth Elemental. And if you want to know what that means, go check out G's video. I'll leave it linked below. So the I'm calling them self-study prompts, the character development prompts. So the first one for that is read a book largely set in a forest/outside. So that will be Rover Rising. It's space, it's outside, it counts. Then we have read a book that features Fae or Elven characters. Miss Mass comes in handy there with Crescent City. Yes, I know that is the name of the series, but then we have read a book with elemental magic or an element in the title, and that is Fire with Fire by Destiny Soraya. Is the book for read a book with elemental magic or an element word in the series or title, so obviously fire. Then we have our journey prompts, and we only need 2 of these to pass at the minimum, but like I say, all of these fit. So the novice path, which is the entrance, and that is read a book with a map, a nice simple prompt. So for this one I'm going to pick the name of the wind, which has the map right here, and I know this is one of G's favourite books as well, so it felt fitting. The next prompt I'm going to try, the next destination on the map is the Ashtorn Tree, a book that keeps tempting you, slash top of the TBR, and it has to be 6 Crimson Cranes. This cover is so pretty, and I'm just really intrigued about it. It's just such a pretty cover, and I have the author letter as well, so yeah. The next one is Mists of Solitude, read a standalone, and I'm going to go for Mexican Gothic for this prompt. The next one is is Ruin of Sky. Read a book featuring ghosts / haunted house or other supernatural elements, and for this one I picked up The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. She's trapped in limbo. That's a supernatural place. Accounts. The next one is Obsidian Falls. Read a mystery or thriller. Need I say more? We are getting there. The next one is Tower of Rumination. Read a 5-star prediction. Legend Born by Tracy Dion. I've heard nothing but great things from this one, and it fits. This character goes on a journey. She learns about magic. And the last prompt is called Aurelium Academy, and that is a book with a school setting. Crave by Tracy Wolfe. A lot of these books can fit different prompts, but in this readathon we are not allowed to double up. So between all of them, I will hopefully manage the challenge. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a like, hit that subscribe button if you want to see this, look at these, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.